I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine a sound. It's a whistle. A slow melodic whistle that just echoes through a massive stadium. You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. It's the opening to Wind of Change. It's basically the soundtrack to the Berlin Wall coming down.
Exactly.
You hear that whistle, and you just see concrete crumbling and people hugging in the streets.
It is the ultimate anthem of peace, of glasnost. But here's the thing, and this is why I was so excited to dig into these sources today, that nice little rock ballad is actually the tip of an iceberg that is so much weirder and frankly darker and more complicated than just world peace.
It's a wild ride. We are looking at the Scorpions, Germany's most successful rock export.
And it is pretty surreal to be sitting here in February 2026 talking about this, because this band just blew out the candles on their 60th anniversary last year.
60 years. It's staggering longevity. I mean, think about what the world even looked like in 1965 compared to today.
Right. And to get from there to here, they had to survive things that would have absolutely destroyed any other band. Looking at this stack of notes, we've got the lead singer losing his voice entirely. We've got Cold War geopolitics. We have rumors of the CIA actually writing their biggest hit.
And internal family feuds that make the show Succession look like a polite tea party.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive.
Right?
We need to figure out how a band from Hanover, founded way back in 1965, managed to pull all this off. How are they still standing in 2026?
So let's go back. 1965, Rudolf Schenker starts the band.
In post-war Germany.
Right. And the context here is just so crucial. Germany is still rebuilding. The culture is being flooded with American influence. Elvis, blue jeans, all of that. But musically, Germany was starting to develop its own thing.
You mean Krautrock, right? Like Can or Kraftwerk.
Exactly. The cool thing to do if you were a German musician was to be experimental, to be artsy, and to sing in German. It was all about creating a distinct German sound. But Rudolf Schenker, he did the exact opposite.
He went with English.
He decided they would sing only in English. And that wasn't just a stylistic choice, it was a massive risk. He was basically turning his back on his own local scene.
That's interesting because looking at it now, it seems so obvious. But back then, that must have felt like a kind of betrayal of the culture.
It did to some, but Rudolf had this philosophy from his dad. Nothing is impossible as long as you believe in it. He didn't want to be the biggest band in Hanover. He wanted to be on the same level as, like, Led Zeppelin.
He wanted the world.
He knew that to compete globally, you had to speak the lingua franca of rock and roll. You sing in German, you stay in Germany, you sing in English, you get the world.
And that ambition is just relentless in these biographies. They form this power triad. Rudolf, the singer Klaus, Meine, and later Matthias Jabs on lead guitar, and they just grinded.
They played anywhere that had a plug. They went into the Lion's Den Liverpool's Cavern Club where the Beatles started, and they actually won over the British crowd. Then they went to Japan in '78 and were treated like gods. That's where we get the Tokyo tapes.
So the strategy works. They ignore the local trends, they aim for the global market, and by the early 80s, they are right on a verge of conquering America. Everything is lined up perfectly. And then music stops.
The blackout crisis. 1981. This is the moment where the band should have just ended. Period.
I was reading the medical reports in the notes, and losing his voice feels like a huge understatement. Klaus Meine didn't just get a sore throat.
No, it was a catastrophe. He had nodes and polyps on his vocal cords. He couldn't sing. He could barely even speak.
Wow.
Imagine being an athlete and losing your legs. That's what this was. The doctors were showing him x-rays and basically saying, you need to find a new career. You will never sing rock music again.
And the timing. They're in the middle of recording the album Blackout. This was supposed to be their massive breakthrough in the U.S.
And Klaus actually tried to quit. He went to Rudolf and said, get a new singer. I don't want to hold you back. The band is more important than me.
He was ready to walk away.
Totally. To save their success.
This is where that whole friendship theme really gets cemented, isn't it? Because in most bands, let's be honest, if the singer can't sing, he's gone. Next guy up.
100%. But Rudolf refused. He told him, no, we wait. They actually brought in Don Dokken to help in the studio, just laying down guide vocals to keep production moving.
While Klaus is going through 2 major surgeries and months of rehab, that's a crazy amount of pressure. The label is screaming for the album, and you're just hoping your singer can scream again.
But the gamble paid off. When Klaus came back, his voice had changed. The surgeries actually gave him a wider range. One critic wrote that they had given Klaus Meine metal vocal cords.
And Blackout became a monster hit. No one like you was everywhere. So they survived the medical disaster. But now we have to fast forward to the late 80s because this is where the story shifts from, rock band survival to something more like international espionage.
The Moscow Music Peace Festival, 1989.
Okay, I have to stop you here because the backstory of this festival is hands down one of the funniest things I've ever read. The public message was all world peace and anti-drugs.
That was the PR line, the Woodstock of the USSR.
But the reality, the entire thing was organized by their manager, Doc McGee, as basically a get-out-of-jail-free card.
A literal get-out-of-jail-free card. Doc McGee had been busted for smuggling 40,000 pounds of marijuana into North Carolina.
40,000 pounds.
It's just a staggering amount of weed. So, facing a massive prison sentence, he strikes a deal with the authorities. He creates the Make a Difference Foundation and promises to organize this huge anti-drug festival in Moscow to show he's a changed man.
So you have a drug lord organizing an anti-drug concert in the Soviet Union, and he brings the Scorpions, Bon Jovi, Ozzy Osbourne, and Mötley Crüe.
And the irony just gets richer. You have the Soviet army acting as security, holding back these kids, while backstage, the anti-drug headliners are an absolute disaster.
Oh, the stories are legendary. Ozzy Osbourne was apparently so wasted on Russian vodka that weeks later he tried to strangle his wife Sharon.
And Mötley Crüe's Tommy Lee punched Doc McGee in the chest because Bon Jovi got to use pyrotechnics and they didn't.
It was just a mess of egos and substance abuse. But, and this is the key point for the Scorpions, while the American bands were fighting over pyro and vodka, Klaus Meine was looking out at the crowd. There were 260,000 Soviet fans there.
And they weren't just partying.
No, it was emotional.
Deeply. You have to remember, for decades, Western rock was forbidden. These kids risked arrest just to buy black market records, and now they're standing there seeing these gods in the flesh. Klaus went home and wrote Wind of Change in September of 1989.
And he captured that feeling of hope of Glasnost. And he wrote it just before the Berlin Wall actually fell in November.
The timing was perfect.
It became the anthem of the era. They played it at the Brandenburg Gate. They played it for Gorbachev and the Kremlin. It's a beautiful story. Rock and roll brings down the Iron Curtain.
It is a beautiful story, but whenever something fits the Western narrative that perfectly, people start to get suspicious.
And this is where we have to talk about the rumor. The podcast Wind of Change by Patrick Radden Keefe.
The CIA theory.
The theory being that Klaus Meine didn't write the song.
The CIA wrote it.
That sounds insane. Like a bad movie plot.
It does, but if you look at the concept of soft power, it's not entirely impossible.
We hear that term soft power a lot, but what does it actually mean in this context?
Well, hard power is forcing someone to do what you want with a gun or sanctions. Soft power is making them want to do what you want through attraction. The theory was, if Soviet kids fell in love with blue jeans, Coca-Cola, and rock music, the Soviet government wouldn't need to be overthrown. It would just crumble from the inside because everyone wanted to be Western.
So the idea is that the CIA said, let's speed this up. Let's write a power ballad that is specifically engineered to make Soviet citizens feel like change is inevitable.
Exactly. It's a psychological operation wrapped in a whistle. The wind of change is blowing. It's very specific. It paints this romantic picture of Moscow. I follow the Moskva down to Gorky Park. That fits perfectly with the Western narrative of, come join us, be free.
Do we actually believe this? I mean, is it just a great story?
The band denies it, obviously. Klaus says it's the best compliment that they think it's that powerful, but I wrote it. But Patrick Radden Keefe's reporting highlights that the CIA did use culture as a weapon. They sent Nina Simone on tours, Louis Armstrong. Whether they literally wrote the lyrics to Wind of Change or just help amplify it, the song functioned as a weapon.
It really makes you look at that whistling intro differently. It's catchy, but maybe it's also, geopolitical engineering.
Precisely.
Now, I want to pivot a bit. We've talked about this message of global peace and unity that the Scorpions projected. But if you look at the sources regarding the band's internal dynamics, peace is the last word you'd use.
Oh, absolutely. The public brand is all about friendship, but the private reality, especially involving the Schenker family, it's tragic.
We're talking about Rudolph and his younger brother, Michael Schenker. Michael is a guitar god in his own right. He was in UFO, he's a legend. But he hates Rudolph.
It's visceral. Michael has gone public with accusations that go way beyond just we don't get along. He claims Rudolph is a bad guitarist who can barely play. He accuses Rudolph of tricking him into giving up songwriting credits for huge songs like the Holiday Intro or Coast to Coast.
But the weirdest part for me was the identity theft angle.
The blonde hair plot.
Yeah. Michael claims that Rudolph dyed his hair blonde to misrepresent and fool people into thinking he was the talented Schenker brother.
It sounds petty, but think about the psychology there. Michael feels like his own brother stole his image, his art, and his identity to become a superstar while Michael was left struggling. He's quoted saying, "I can't trust him anymore." That's a deep, deep rift.
And it's not just Michael. Herman Rarebell, the drummer who wrote the lyrics for Rock You Like a Hurricane, he's pretty bitter too.
Herman the German. Yeah, he left in 1996, and he claims the band has been over ever since. He calls them those furs because he sent an email asking to reunite and they didn't even reply.
Ouch. That silence speaks volumes.
It does. It shows that the Scorpions is a machine now.
Yeah.
If you aren't part of the machine, you just don't exist to them.
Speaking of the machine, let's bring this right up to the present moment. It's February 2026. The 60th anniversary celebrations of 2025 are in the rearview mirror.
They had that massive homecoming show in Hanover last July. Juice Priest was there, Alice Cooper. But, looking at the reviews, you can't defeat time completely.
Klaus is, what, 76, 77 now?
Yeah, and some fans were complaining that the vocals are showing their age, they play the hits, but they don't dig into the deep cuts anymore. They are a legacy act.
And the physical toll is real. We just had that scare last month, right? In January of 2026.
Mickey D, he's their current drummer, used to play for Motorhead, actually. He just spent 3 weeks in the hospital with sepsis.
Which is terrifying.
It is. He's recovering, but he was fighting a serious blood infection. And when you're in your 60s or 70s, touring the world, living in hotels, a bad infection can be life-threatening.
And yet, they announced they are continuing. They have the Vegas residency. They released the album from the first Sting late last year. Why? They did a farewell tour back in 2010. That was 16 years ago.
They did. They really thought they were done. But Rudolph says something fascinating about this. He credits the WhatsApp generation.
What does that mean?
He says that during that farewell tour, they started seeing teenagers in the front row, kids who hadn't even been born when Wind of Change came out. They were discovering the music on YouTube, sharing it on WhatsApp and TikTok. The band realized the music had jumped the generation gap.
So they tore up the retirement papers?
Exactly. They realized they're in that Rolling Stones category now. As long as they can physically stand up and as long as the kids are showing up, they are going to keep playing.
It's amazing resilience. They navigated the English language gamble, the loss of a voice, the fall of the Soviet Union, and now they're navigating old age.
They are survivors. They understood that rock and roll is a business just as much as it is an art form, and they played the game better than almost anyone else.
It leaves you with a lot to think about, especially that CIA connection.
It really does.
And that brings me to a final thought for you listening. If the intelligence agencies of the Cold War era understood the power of a rock ballad to shape history, what are they doing today?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
We're scrolling through TikTok. We're streaming the top 40. Are there songs on the charts right now that were engineered in a boardroom at an intelligence agency to nudge our political views? Who is whistling the tune for the next revolution, and do we even know who wrote it?
We might not find out for another 40 years.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Keep your ears open.